Welcome back, YouTube, to another Fat Guy Builds. The wife's car is broken. Low high pressure fuel rail pressure, so low fuel pressure. And I'm going to do a pressure switch and a high pressure fuel pump, see if it fixes it. If not, I have the low side fuel pump, just in case that one's not working. But we're going to try this stuff first, and I'm going to show you step by step. Hopefully it works. Here's the part number for the high pressure fuel pump. Here's the part number for the sensor. The fuel pump is this thing right here. So if you have an aftermarket pipe, you're going to have to disconnect it here and disconnect it at the turbo so you can loosen it and twist it out of the way at least. If you have a stock one, you're going to disconnect it down here by the box, and you're going to disconnect it here and pull out this piece. We're going to have to, in my case, because I have the pipe, we're going to have to remove this piece to get my hand down in there to get this pipe out. So you start with the weather stripping, give it a little pull. Then you're going to have different ones here because I lost mine, but take these out. You're going to pop these off, get these out of the way. You're going to undo these clips here, stick a flathead inside, twist it, and then pull the clip out all the way down. To get this off, or out of the way, you go from underneath, press straight up, because there's a groove that it sits in right here. So you just press straight up, and I'm just going to disconnect it enough to get my fat arm in there. Now that the pipe is out of the way, you remove this heat cover. It just pulls off the pump here. In order to get it off though, you're going to have to disconnect the fuel pump connector. So squeeze the tab and wiggle. So that's off now. And then this should just slide right off. Like so. Take a 17mm, slowly crack the fuel line. There's an 8mm bolt that has this little dowel clamp bolted to the housing here, so that holds the line. So loosen this up. We have a metal plate that sort of goes around the pump. It's like a safety hold down is what it looks like. Those two are 10mm, so we're going to pull those out first, take this metal plate off, and then we're going to use 8mm on the two bolts holding down the actual pump. So I tried doing what I saw in another video, shaving down this tool to unlock the clip here. What I ended up doing was using this clip. You see, I shaved it, broke this one. Anyways, I used this. I disconnected it from the body of the car. Then I hacked off this piece from here so that this was just like this. I used the tool and I pulled it out. So Ford, you're a fucking piece of shit for designing this. Whatever engineer did this, he should be fired, or at minimum kicked in the balls. I'm using some assembly lube on this rubber O-ring because I don't want it to just get all messed up. I don't want to rip it while I'm trying to push it in. So you probably don't have to use assembly lube. You can use just plain motor oil. But get some on the O-ring, and then when we put it in to the car, just wiggle and push down, and it should slide in. Get these two 8mm bolts tightened pretty much all the way down by hand. Then after that, you're going to do like half a turn, come over here, half a turn over here, half a turn, go back and forth so that it gets pressed down evenly, and then give it a nice little tighten. I'm gonna tighten this on, make sure it's nice and clean, and then I'm gonna just push these back on to both sides of the fuel line, and then put this screw back in to hold this fuel line. Put back this metal guard plate and the two 10mm bolts, and then tighten them down. Put back the heat cover and plug back in the connector. So I just finished all that. We put it back together. Tried to start it. Obviously I still have, like, this is still tore apart and stuff. Tried to start it since it's all back together and it's the same issue as before. So the next option is the high pressure sensor died. Problem is it's like a 1 1/16, but like it needs to be a deep socket. So I'm gonna have to go buy a socket tomorrow now. You can get to it by unplugging it and getting. You can get a socket straight on it. We're gonna have to bleed the pressure off, so I'm gonna loosen the high pressure line just enough to make sure there's no pressure when I go to take the sensor off. Here we are, day 2. We're gonna change the sensor. So I just loosened up the high pressure feed a little bit, a couple threads. Unplug the sensor on the fuel line. It's right there. I had to go buy a 1 1/16 deep socket. So yeah, we're gonna put this over the sensor. I used the 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter as a tiny extension, and once I broke it loose I just spun it by hand. This worked out the best. Now I cleaned all the surfaces down there, just made sure it's clean. I used the ohm meter on the sensors. I couldn't find anything special, broken or otherwise. So I'm just gonna put the new one in and pray that this fixes it. So we'll find out here in a second, I guess. So I tightened it. Make sure that you hold the head of the ratchet here. Hold that so you don't twist, because you just want to tighten it. You don't want to twist the thing. Give it a little nice couple of tugs. I don't have a torque spec for you, so if you want that, you can Google it. Other than that, just make sure it's nice and tight. Do not put any sealant on it. It has a, what do you call it? I forget the name of it, but anyways, it just has like a 45-degree flange, and it mounts metal to metal, so do not put RTV on this. Retighten the high pressure line. Plug the sensor back in, and we're ready to test this out. Moment of truth. Come on, wifey, start your car. Look at that. Yeah, boy! Yeah, boy!